Hello and welcome back to Phoenix World Championship as we are watching the final moments of the qualifying for round number 3 at Watkins Glen. We have 13 cars on the grid. I know, it's shocking. But the cars are streaming towards the start-finish line for the last time, and we have a new face on pole. Car number 484 Ken Miles is the car on the first row for right now. Fortenburst is right behind him, 35.6. Then it's Miles' teammate, not James, followed by Psychedelics. Great result for the German in 4th place. Gunzer's his teammate in 5th, and Trempel, McLaren team and Salzeder, the trio of Porsches, in 6th, 7th and 8th. It's interesting to see McLaren team in 7th. Spitfire, the only Nissan in 9th, Viperion in 10th, Gifu in 11th, another new face, the Mercedes of LH in 12th, and Cap is the last car on track to finish their qualifying lap, car number 180 in another Porsche, and see if he can improve the time before the time expires for qualifying and we proceed to the first race of the two. And it's gonna be interesting. Welcome to Watkins Glen. It is a windy event in United States today. Almost 9 meters per second eastwards wind will have an interesting effect on the drivers today. They'll have to face a little bit of crosswind when they navigate the first... Actually, which way is it blowing? I'm very well prepared, as you can probably spot right away. So I definitely know which way the track is going. So there's no need for me to use a popular search engine to find out that information right now. Just so we're all in the clear. This is fine. So yes, as it actually faces the south, so the drivers will have a lot of crosswind at the start-finish line. So from left to right, as you can see right now, is gonna be the wind blowing through. So interesting to see the entry into turn 1, if it gusts a tiny bit there. And definitely gonna be interesting to see their ride up the uphill through the first S's, as it's gonna be essentially the tailwind. Just let them go faster up the hill, let them proceed with more speed, more gusto, and more overtaking opportunities on the following back straight into the inner loop. So we're taking the full layout today at Watkins Glen with the inner loop with the boot. So whole 11 turns, and we are about to go green once again. Rolling start. So the drivers will do one lap around the track, warming up their tires before they actually go green. For today's race event, we have 2 races with a separate qualifying attached to each of them. So we're gonna see 2 qualifying sessions and 2 race sessions, 20 minutes plus 1 lap for the first race, as everybody is gonna take their time warming up their tires. But as we approach the 3rd event of the championship, let's see how the championship so far is panning out. Here is the championship standings after round number 2 at Sachsenring, with Fortenburst leading the title race at 194 points after all the penalties and adjustments. McLaren team is in 2nd, and the rest you can see on the screens. Well, total of 14 drivers so far scored points, and it's going to be more with new faces today. Interesting to see that the gap has grown for Photon, but the gap grew even more for the team. PIT Traffic Light, that's currently in the first spot with a massive 125-point advantage over racing team Intel, who did not have the best qualifying, but coming in numbers today. All 4 Intel drivers are on the grid today versus all 3 PRT cars. Oh, we're having an issue. Speaking of PIT Traffic Light, it looks like number 93, X number 14 Psychedelics, spun the car. I'm trying to figure out where it is. Is that the toe? Yeah, that looks like the toe number 7. So, by rule, they will have to start last in the row if they're able to catch up on time. So now everybody is, well, I would say forming up, but it looks like the leader is not very keen on waiting for the field to form up. So now everybody's behind them, finally lining up, and we are waiting to go green at the line. And here we go. A good start from both Photon and not James. James will have to challenge them on the inside. He's trying to, Photon is very sideways and loses the spot, but I think he keeps the car going. He'll definitely be under attack now. McLaren Tim from 6th to 3rd at the start. A great start for the American. Definitely issue by Psychedelics helped them in that regard. Meanwhile, we'll have a fight for the lead. That's not James challenging his teammate up the inside, and he manages to make the overtake stick. So car 73 now in the lead from 484, which might be a bad team tactic, as looks like Ken Miles is the faster of the two, but we'll see where it goes. Just lap number 1, 2 Ferraris are trying to run away from the entire field. Meanwhile, further back, looks like Photonburst and Gunzes established 4th and 5th, being in a Porsche sandwich. McLaren team in front of them, Trampel and Saltseeder both behind them. Further down, Psychedelics is still in last and 13th, trying to make some overtakes happen, just in case of well, team shenanigans happen. And meanwhile, Ken Miles and not James side by side. There is a touch from James, who is not very keen on letting his teammate through. They were side by side at the heel and exiting the boot, which is probably not the best place to overtake, but they'll continue forward as they are right now. The first lap completed, not James the fastest, evidently. We'll see how the race pace pans out after a couple laps, but the 2 Ferraris are definitely leaving everybody else in the dust so far. Meanwhile, behind them, line-offs turn for essentially everyone. We see a little bit of gaps forming here, there, and everywhere as the cars are approaching the inner loop once again. Definitely one of those tracks which might be a little bit uncomfortable for the Porsche. You can see the suspension bumping everywhere as they try to stay afloat. Meanwhile, Psychedelics completes his pass on cap in the inner loop, up to 12th position for the German. Yes, it's definitely easier in the Ferrari than I'd say Porsche. You can see the cars bumping. Probably suspension of the Porsche is not handling the curbs really well. It was a similar thing in round 1, where the changes and the bumps of the first track, especially the oval part at Lausitzring, did a number on the Porsche. Even McLaren team had a lot of trouble just handling the car, and difficult curbs and the washing board on essentially the racing line does not help the Porsche either. But McLaren team still stays in 3rd place. That car we saw not the fastest at the straight line, but now with the tailwind helping on the longest straight. It seems like it is somewhat okay for him, and in the turns he is more rapid. Side by side for the lead again. That's not James and Ken Miles continuing to battle among themselves. James is up front for now. Burst managed to get a good first part of the lap done, and now he finds himself on the rear bumper of his forever rival and ex-teammate, McLaren team. The first two Phoenix World Championships, these two won together as a part of Timberwolves Racing, and after that they went their separate ways as they figured out it would be more challenge to be in different teams and to challenge each other instead. Burst since then took a little bit of a sabbatical, being our resident pace car driver. Oh, it looks like there was an issue. Salt Cedar and Trampale. Uh-oh. That might be the cardinal sin of motorsport committed right here, as two teammates are damaged and off the road. Doesn't seem that anybody else was involved, so it might have been Trampale and Salt Cedar coming together, and that's a disaster for Team Intel, as LH manages to overtake Jifu here, and Jifu is now under fire by Psychedelics as well. But it seems like a biggest... Oh, Jifu is sideways and off the road, facing the pit road. So that would be a flick spin to come back on track. Or two. As Psychedelics had a little bit of an issue trying to avoid that. So now he sees Trampel in his rearview mirror. Very prominent. Cap overtakes Salt Cedar, so looks like Salt Cedar, that car is not happy, so I think that car might be heading straight into the pits at the end of a lap. We see that he's just skipping the chicane and navigating the tire stack, and that car is definitely not good. A big disaster for Racing Team Intel, as 3 out of 4 cars find themselves at the bottom of the standings, and as Burst and Gunses, as we can see on the screen, are definitely doing well so far. It might be another bad weekend for the Porsches, who are gonna let their rivals increase the gap. Meanwhile, for the lead, this duo is still trailing each other and not letting anyone else anywhere close. Not James and Ken Miles, 1-2. Not James, after the stewarding decisions, lost his first win of the season in race 5, which was the tournament he was caused a collision with Gunses and got 3 penalty points, which put his total over the 5 penalty point total, and that caused a 5-second time penalty. Trampel in the pits as well. Salt Cedar will go in the pits shortly, I'm sure, so that's 2 cars in pits right now for repairs. So yes, he got 5-second time penalty, which was enough to drop him to 2nd place and promote Burst to the win. So now 73 is probably angrier than ever and trying their best to reclaim that win that they somewhat lost. So they are almost halfway through. Car 73, not James, definitely want to keep that position. Oh, it looks like Mercedes is having troubles. LH facing the wrong way and hitting the wall. Oh, careful with that flick spin. Cap avoids that possibly unsafe rejoin right there. So we'll see if the stewards have something to say about that. And looks like the overtake has actually been completed. We were watching the unsafe rejoin. Possibly as Ken Miles overtakes now James into turn 1 and now building a gap. Obviously the faster car of the two I'm not sure if it was on merit that overtake or not, but now car 73 will have to hurry up to regain that place, as they're now in second at essentially the halfway mark of the race. Meanwhile, behind them, we still have a three-way battle. That's McLaren team from Fordham, from Gunses. McLaren team increase the gap and then lose it back. So definitely the car is a handful still. That Porsche not cooperating specifically well. But for now, he's staying in podium place. It might not be good enough for his team considering his teammates, but in the personal championship and the battle against Fordham Burst, that might be... Well, it will be enough to gain 4 points over him. The gap is definitely more than that, but that's a start considering we have 3 races left in the championship. He'll need all the points he can get. I think 4.9 by Ken Miles. That's a fantastic time. He puts over a second on his teammate and increase the gap to everyone else who are doing 36s here. That trio meanwhile continues to pile on the pressure on each other. 71, 28 and 000 lurking in the shadows. Continuing on as the Porsche leads the couple of Audis around the track. Further back we see Spitfire, who is 4th in the championship. Despite not having any standout performances, he seems to be just the driver to take the car around the track consistently good, to find himself in good spots. Once again, he's in the top half of the standings, in 6th place with good gap all around him, as he just... Oh, we see the battle. It looks like that's Fordham defending hard against Gunses after a good exit by the Latvian. They're both on the tail of Tim, but definitely a breath of fresh air for the Porsche driver, as his 2 rivals behind him decide to fight amongst themselves, which I would argue is not the best of strategies, but who am I to judge? Behind there is a battle between Jifa and LH after an issue of the former. Cap is ahead of the duo, so now at the back of the pack we have a 3-way battle. 3 cars. Oh, there's a bit of an issue on the braking for the Ferrari, who finds the wall and loses a little bit of time. Definitely suboptimal for them, as Jifu continues with a little bit of front end damage. That's definitely gonna hamper his chances. And we have a car in the pits. That's Spitfire. Did I just curse him? I might have just cursed him, as he finds himself on the pit road with evident damage, a lot of it. So at some point a wall was stagnant. He misses his pit box as well, so that's a problem. I'm commentator's curse, alive and well, ladies and gentlemen, as that's another car losing positions as soon as I talk shit about them, pardon my French, as he will fall to at least 11th spot. He's gonna be challenging 2 Porsches after the repairs. There was about a minute and a half between them and the rest of the field. As we proceed looking at this trio who's fighting for the podium places. Oh, Fordham Burst seems to be all over the place right now. Try to go on board with the Audi to figure out what is going on here. Another half a second slower than the personal best. No James Post, 35 flat. 36.7 by McLaren team. And it looks like Viperian is off the road. That would be turn 8, the heel where he spun. As he proceeds forward, losing a spot to Psychedelics, who is now catching up to his teammate in the standings. After an issue on the formation lap, he finds himself all the way up to 6th. with Photon Burst and Gunsis in 4th and 5th. There is half a minute between them, but still, that's a position and that's solid performance by the entire team of PIT Traffic Light. But now they're still fighting amongst themselves. Gunsis is lurking in the back behind Photon, not making a move as of yet, but still close enough for the Dutchman to feel the pressure. Now, who doesn't feel the pressure right now is McLaren team, who managed to get a second worth of a gap from the other two drivers with 5 minutes to go. So he'll have a little bit of relief as Photon Burst still struggles to find some traction. We see on corner exits the car is wobbling. And now he finds the wall. Photon Burst is in the wall now with his right side. And I'm not sure if the car is damaged or if it's fine, but definitely something he does not want. And now it might be the moment for Gunsis behind him to mount a comeback and get around him. As let's see that from his eyes now. The 000 Audi of the Latvian, who I believe is third in the championship, and who sees Photon Burst struggle a lot with his car, and there's a little bit of overlap here, and he goes for the overtake on the inside, and with a move, oh, that's both of them missing the bus stop. McLaren team, thank you very much, as both cars just navigate around the bus stop, or the inner loop, as you wish, and that's a bit of a local disaster for PRT Traffic Light. I don't think they're gonna be catching McLaren team anytime soon now, and they're gonna be fighting amongst themselves once again, as I think Gunsis now has way more pace than his teammate after he sustained damage, but that podium place is lost. And with Gunsis being keen on taking 4th place away from his teammate, that might be severe championship implications. If he does so, that's more points going towards McLaren team and his comeback. Definitely good for Photon that McLaren team was nowhere to be found in qualifying in, I believe, 6th or 7th place, so no bonus points for him. But it's still an interesting development. 1.5 seconds now between Photon and Gunsis. Gunsis has about 5 minutes in total, 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap, to get back and get around. So definitely both moves were a little bit hard. Gunsis tried to stay as wide as possible, giving Photon all the space he wanted, but I'm not sure how the stewards will look at that. That's definitely an interesting angle of the side by side. Definitely one of the hardest places to go side by side, the inner loop, as there is only one racing line, and having any compromise will land you in a very difficult line to navigate. Meanwhile, there is the leader catching up to these duo fighting amongst themselves. That's LH and Gifu. The Mercedes and Ferrari fighting, and the leader a little bit stuck behind them once again. There is no requirement to let anyone through. It's side by side. Gifu and LH fighting for position, and it's only a leader's problem if they can't find their way around. They're not allowed to actively defend the position, but nobody says they have to get out of the way, and there's a collision. That's Ken Miles bunting a car off the road. Uh-oh, that might be a problem for 484 if stewards take a look at that. But for now, he stays in the lead. He loses about 3 seconds worth of time, and now he has to navigate around Gifu. Once again, you're not required to yield, but Gifu goes off the road to let the leader by. There's 1.3 seconds left between two leaders after that kerfuffle with the traffic. Most unfortunate for Ken Miles, and he might have a moment with the stewards to himself after the end of the race. LH recovers, but he recovers to 10th place. That's car 71, that's McLaren team, that's not Trempel, who's the next car back. Spitfire rejoined the track in 12th place, so ahead of Salt Cedar, behind Trempel, just 5 seconds back. And LH, that Mercedes is all battered and bruised. But we have to switch to this now. That's Gunses within 1 second of Fordham Burst. He gained about a second on him now. They'll be the next cars to navigate the lap traffic. So that might give a little bit of time to Gunses if he manages to catch up and pass that Mercedes in a good amount of time. He's trying to go around the outside. He does so he doesn't lose any time. And now it's half a second between him and Fordham Burst. And that's... It's on for the final lap between the two teammates once again. McLaren team all clear, all around him. 1.5 between Ken Miles and Not James. I'm trying to monitor that battle, but it looks like there is nothing else going on between them. That's LH behind, trying his best to just cross the line. It looks like that Mercedes is very damaged after a few adventures of his, but he has 12 seconds on Trampel with 20 seconds left. The leaders crossed the line. That means 2 more laps to go, which is a blessing for the Latvian in 000. He'll have 2 attempts to pass his teammate. 0.4 between them. Oh, that's Fordham going wide. That's Gunses going wide. Both drivers not staying on track. But Gunses was closer, so he had to lift a little bit less for that. Oh, Gunses trying to go around the outside in the S's. That's a suicidal move if he tried that. Now he's around the outside and side by side into the inner loop again. Gunses has to yield and wait for a better opportunity. Gifu goes around Cap, and Gifu promotes himself to 8th place. That 180 is not healthy up front, so maybe an issue for the Canadian, as behind them there is that duo. Cap tries to go off the road to avoid this battle. That's Gunses and Fordham Burst. 2 tenths between them, and they have just over a lap to settle their differences there on the back straight, coming into turn, that would be what, turn number 8, the heel, as they complete the boot and exit it. Oh, that's Fordham wide, and there's the overtake complete. Fordham goes too wide in the heel, and Gunses gets the position in the end. The Dutchman buckles under pressure, and Gunses promotes himself to 4th position with Fordham now down to 5th. There's going to be 1 more lap, and as a second between Not James and Ken Miles, there's 2 leaders. 1.2 between them. Not James was a little bit faster on the previous lap, but they have just 1 lap to go. Here's our leader, 484, Ken Miles. 14 laps under his belt. It's going to be 15th and last in this race for him. Just has to navigate cleanly, and he has that in the bag. McLaren team 11 seconds back, so it's Ferrari versus Ferrari on the last lap. And it looks like the American Ken Miles is getting a great lap under his belt. We can spectate the car from the in-car view to see just how planted that Ferrari seems to be. And we've talked about Porsche and Audi having some issues. You see that Ferrari just going straight. He's going wherever he tells his car to go. That spectacular feat of mechanical knowledge to set the car up, and the driver's skill to match that. As he navigates the final few corners, looks like Cap lost a position to LH and goes down. He loses another position, so that car is really damaged, and he loses spot to Trampel. But here is 484, the debut in the series and the first checkered flag to signal the win for Ken Miles. A beautiful performance as his teammate comes home second in a beautiful battle. Car 71, McLaren team has a bit of an adventure at the end, but he manages to finish on podium in 3rd place. Gunses shortly back in 4th. Fordham Burst in 5th, losing the spot on the last lap. And here is Psychedelics catching Spitfire. That's a lap difference between them, but he will be finishing in 6th place, comfortably with nobody else around. That looks like Trampel is spinning. That looks like last turn, is it? Yes, that's last turn. Now he's under fire, but he keeps the 10th place from Spitfire and Cap, so that spin could have cost Trampel a place, but it looks like he just about saved himself. in top 10. LH finished 9th, Gifu 8th. Behind them, Spitfire 11th, Cap 12th. Viperian finishes in 7th place, the last car on the lead lap, and that's gonna be Saltcedar, routing out our grid after hefty repairs, with an incident potentially involving his teammate, and he comes home in 13th and last car, 55. So a weekend to forget for the Porcas, or I guess the race to forget, because we're gonna have another race soon. Don't go anywhere. We'll see if they're able to bounce back from those positions, and it's preferable for them because qualifying is gonna commence once again, and they'll have a chance to start higher than they finished. But for now, Racing Team Intel not having the greatest of times, as the Ferrari of Ken Miles, car 484, is taking the first victory of the weekend. As I said, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after these messages.
stopped. He stopped. Somehow we was like, fuck you. I'm not hurrying. I hit the wall, but I hit one of the bones because I lost. Heavy damage, heavy damage. Don't try to kill yourself. GT3, get a GT3. He's fucking idiot. At least I think something bad happened to somebody in front of us. Welcome to Daytona. Checker flag. Fantastic job, everyone.
drive me down to the pine trees. Looking for lost hopes and dreams. I feel you breathing in your heartbeat. Spinning tires, set alight, fire on the street. These concrete skies make pitch black nights. We caught names with our headlights. Open your eyes
And welcome back to the second qualifying of the day for the Phoenix World Championship round 3 at Watkins, Glen. Currently watching their race 1 winner Ken Miles sitting in the second spot in the qualifying. His teammate Nod James is on pole currently, followed by the duo of PIT traffic light Audis, Gunses and Photonburst, currently in 3rd and 4th. Then we have a duo of Porsches from racing team Intel, Trempel and McLaren Tim in 5th and 6th. And it starts to feel like Formula 1. We have 2 drivers from each team occupying each row. And only further down the grid it becomes a little bit less stable. So less than a tenth separates 2 Ferraris up front. With 2 minutes to go, we'll see if Ken Miles manages to steal the top spot from his teammate. Photonburst 135.9, the 4th car of this qualifying to exit 136, and wow, 134.735 by almost half a second. Does the car for improve all the way to the top spot of the standings in the qualifying. Now let's see what is going to be the answer by car 73, his teammate. Gunses seem to be leaving to the pit road, so his qualifying is over. That's the first car to be done with the quali. Psychedelics off the road before start finish, and he's gonna be on pit road as well, so his qualifying is done. That's 2 cars, 11 left. Less than a minute to go. We'll see if James... It looks like he is a little bit slower than he could have been. Trempel is off the road, and he is on the pit road as well, so that's another car that is done. Now James warming up his tires, so he's gonna be going for the one last run now. So let's actually go to the in-car view. Let's try to find the view that actually doesn't obscure anything. That'll do. And we're on board with James, who's trying to take the pole position away from his team, but he'll need to improve by about 4 tenths. Photonburst improves to 3rd, meanwhile, 35.665. Steals a point from Gunses. And he'll have one more run, but Gunses is done, so he's pretty comfortable. Unless McLaren team has something to say about it. He's not done yet. And time expires now, so final laps for everybody involved. That was one of the Porsches on the outside there. They're done with their qualifying. So far, Nod James is a little bit slower on their own time. So that does not bode well for their chances for pole position. They're skipping a lot of apeces, so... Interesting to see. There's the wobble that Ken Miles doesn't have. There is the wobble of a Ferrari. You can see the difference between 2 driving styles. One of them definitely has more smooth and consistent ride compared to the teammate. So it looks like that's not going to be the best of laps for James. And in front of him, that's going to be a Spitfire finish in his lap. So we'll see the result of the Nissan as he exits the final turn and goes towards the start finish. Saltcedar improves just ahead to 8th place. Spitfire improves but keeps in 10th. McLaren team is done. Saltcedar done. Photonburst is going to be exiting the boot in front of him. That's Jifu and Ken Miles. Jifu is coming to the last turn. He's not going to be letting him through. Just trying to set his own good time, and he's gonna be crossing the line now. Improves to 38.6 but stays in 11th. Photonburst goes to pit road. So looks like that's LH and Cap. Cap is headbutting the wall in turn 2, so he's done. So that's gonna be 1 car remaining and the timer expires. So that's our grid. Ken Miles from Nod James from Photonburst, Gunses, Trempel, McLaren Tim, Psychedelic, Saltcedar, Viperion, Spitfire, Jifu, LH Gap, That's our 13 drivers for race number 2 in this particular order. So the 484 dominating once again. Let's see if he does better this time at the start finish for the first time around. Definitely did not have the best of formation laps during his debut round. We'll see if stewards have something to say about it, but that's all gonna be post race. For now, he is the race 6 winner. So we're currently awaiting the start. It's gonna be just about a minute till we go green, as the cameraman we are using right now has a mild seizure. That is okay. That's not a problem. He'll leave. As we're getting ready for race number 7 of the Phoenix World Championship Season 4, our first winter season. So the double event race format, once again the strong eastwards winds, and we're gonna have one more 20-minute race, so it's very short weekend race wise, so a lot more to gain during qualifying in round 3. And we do have lights, and we're getting ready to go for race number 7. 13 cars. We'll try to see who is the fastest among them once more. The cars take off from the grid for the one and probably only formation lap. 2 Ferraris on top row, 2 Audis second row, followed by 2 Porsches on the third row, and a good mix behind them. So this time we don't have a Lamborghini, the lone Lamborghini taking part in this championship. It is replaced by well-versed Mercedes. Sorry, was I calling it a Mercedes all this time? I was calling it a Mercedes all this time. I'm an absolute idiot. I just realized that's a BMW. I'm utterly confused with the Viperion, who is in a Mercedes. But that LH is not a Mercedes, it's a BMW, but the German, they're all close enough to each other, so that's fine. I corrected myself before an angry mob could correct me, so that is acceptable. That is why you don't have a race after you had no sleep for the last 3 days, ladies and gentlemen. A good lesson for everybody involved. Except me, because I'm not gonna listen to myself. And as we welcome your ever delirious commentator once again, we are lining up for the formation start of race number 7. This time 2 teammates are alongside well before the time. 2 Audis seem to be a little bit confused, but they figure it out. And everybody behind them is slotting back and getting ready to go. There's a beautiful grid coming down to the start finish, led by car 484. Is waiting to smash the throttle and go racing. The entire grid is waiting, and away we go, side by the 2 leaders. Great start from Not James, as he's on the inside once again, looking to take advantage. Wide goes 484, but he has to let his teammate through for now on the inside. Well, he tried to slot in, he has to. He slots in the 2nd place, and once again James wins the race to the start. Looks like Spitfire has an issue on the uphill, trying to restart his Nissan, but for now there is a race behind him into the bus stop. Photon Burst in 3rd, that's Ken Miles cutting the track, and now being under fire from an Audi. Looks like a little bit of breathing room for no James this time around, as the second Ferrari is under fire. As we continue to watch the cars stream through the boot. Fordenberg saves his third place, but fourth is now taken by the Porsche of McLaren Tim, who overtakes Gunses, Trempel and Saltzeder 6 and 7 behind. Psycholox falls to 8th. And looks like Spitfire is the only casualty of the start, with everybody else managing to stay line of stern. As we can see that nice line of cars getting towards the exit of the boot and towards the last sector. McLaren Tim is putting pressure on Fordenburst. He will need to get around and get ahead. He gained a few spots and a few points on him, but once again, not a lot of races left. We have three more races after that, and the last one is gonna be at Nürburgring Nordschleife, which is well, definitely not the easiest place to get positions and make sure that you get the result you wanted. Meanwhile, LH and Cap having themselves a race. Looks like an overtake back and forth, and the BMW, which is spectacularly not the Mercedes, ends up ahead in 11th position. The battle continues. McLaren Team lets Foden go a little bit, and now under fire from his teammate, the Latvian. Meanwhile, Saltzeder and Psychedelics, two Germans, having themselves a tussle, and the Audi comes out victorious for now in 7th position, overtaking the car 55. After a frustrating start for race 1, Psychedelics wants to reclaim as many places and finish as high as he can. Last time he finished behind his two teammates, so he managed to get around half the field, but would definitely want to get a little bit more this time around. Further up the road, that famous trio in PRC, McLaren Team, Fordenburst, McLaren Team and Gunses, still together and still fight amongst themselves. They're being watched by Trempel in 6th place, who definitely would want to join that party if he can. Ken Miles with the fastest lap, half a second away from James's time, and running away from the field, half a second between our leaders. So let's switch to them, see what's going on in Ferrari land. As 484 once again, much faster car, but will he be able to get the pass done? Spitfire goes around Cap and finds himself in a 12th position after a disaster at the start. But here we go, two Ferraris together again with creative interpretation of the bus stop once again for our leader, 484. See a couple of racing packs now behind. We saw Gunses being mighty fighty, let's just say, behind that Porsche, and he has good exit looking, but not going just yet. That's not really an overtaking corner here unless you send it really hard, considering the racing line is somewhere in the middle of that turn. So he stays put and tries to find a better overtaking opportunity. Spitfire goes around LH, two white cars now, battling amongst themselves, and Spitfire promotes himself to 11th. So decent recovery for the Russian so far. Unfortunate incident in race 1 dropped him all the way down to 11th place, so now he finds himself there again. Jifu off the road a little bit, rejoins safely, so that's all good. Green flag again in that sector, so that's fine. 137's in that pack, so they're not going particularly fast. It might be the case of saving tires for a race at the end, as they see the two leaders just flying away. So that's, I don't think they're gonna be reachable anytime soon. Meanwhile, there is a side-by-side for the lead. Another issue under brake, and then another creative line by 484, so definitely might be a case of, hey stewards, look at this bus stop. Beyond the white line once again for Ken Miles, trying desperately to go around his teammate. Two Ferraris definitely testing the track limits here and there, trying to get the best times possible. As two Americans, probably not used to white lines being actual white lines and being the track limit, especially at the Watkins Glen, but sooner or later they'll learn. As the duo of our leaders continues to fight amongst themselves, you can see the gap just growing by the minute. That's two Ferraris and then everybody else. As they continue to battle, we go on board with our race 6 winner, and it might be as good of a time as any to look at the back of a Ferrari and go to a pure sound. The overtake complete, the 484 in the lead. That's the result of our pure sound segment. A little bit of a mistake into the inner loop for car 73. And the now race leader crosses him over and gets in the lead. Cap, meanwhile, got into the pit lane. And LH also in the pits. As they rejoin, looking like they're right next to each other once again after the repairs. But a lap back from everyone else. As Viperian tries to navigate the traffic. A very blinky Canadian car, so we'll switch to this battle for now. As they are trying to get around each other after the pit stops. This bunch is still inseparable. That's McLaren, Tim and Gunsus, Fortenburst managing to get a little bit of a gap over Tim. 1.5 seconds now, so that's a A good result for the Dutchman. Recouping some of the points back, considering his good qualifying results. That might be enough to just keep himself well adjusted in the championship. Looks like LH had a little bit of an issue at some point, as he was off the road and being caught up and lapped by Spitfire, who's now in 10th. Meanwhile, Psychedelics trying to catch up to Trempel. That's about a second between them. Second and a half. So that's another Audi chasing another Porker. Speaking of which, this duo still continues in 4th and 5th. McLaren team versus Gunses. Good lap, 36.6 by Psychedelics, who now trying to close the gap to Trempel. Personal best for car... Is that 93? I hate him for number change. Which number are you now? Come on. Show it to me. Yes, car 93. Thank you. The X14, let's just say that. As we proceed with McLaren team and Gunses, they are losing ground to Fordenburst now 1.8 seconds, but they're getting away from Trempel at the same time, so this is an interesting... Oh, no, James is off the track and he's in a wall! That's a problem for a Ferrari. Does he sustain damage? Fordenburst goes around him. Now he has 2 more cars streaming towards him. And that's a chance for McLaren team to get some tow and get closer to Fordenburst. But now Forden gets a little bit of a point advantage and position advantage over him. So that changed that fast that Ferrari had an issue, had a bobble, and now we have a 4-way dance for second. Fordenburst second place, chased by not James. And then McLaren team and Gunses behind, everybody within a second of each other. Now there's the best opportunity for McLaren team to get some tow and get close and maybe try to get away from the Latvian. Meanwhile, further back we see the green and black car of Psychedelics catching up the 17 Porsche. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how that progresses closer to the end of the race. Meanwhile, that Ferrari has a lot of speed. And meanwhile, behind we have almost a 2-wide. McLaren team defends the inside and just manages to get the corner done. Just cutting off Gunses, but they're losing the duo up front. So now it seems to be 2 duos, and around goes not James with a better exit. He's shown that good exit into turn, well, out of the chute and into the tow for multiple laps now, and once again he's really good on the exit and manages to catch out the Audi and get his second place back. Good news for McLaren team, but he will need to close the gap again. Oh, that Ferrari's still struggling. That's a wobble. Oh, that's a little bit of contact, and Fordenburst goes through both of them. Ignore track limits. An attempted crossover by 73. Side by side they go. Almost another touch. And they're still side by side. Looks like Ferrari has a better straight line speed. He closed the door, but now everybody's under fire from everybody. McLaren team decides to not send the car into the gap. Now he has to. He has significant overspeed and he has to dive in side by side through the first couple of corners. McLaren team on the right, Fordenburst on the left. And Gunses is right behind them. And they will all be arriving into the inner loop. Gunses was looking at the 3 wide. You don't go 3 wide into this turn. Who is better on the brakes? That's another contact, and car 28 cuts the entire chicane, loses it, and into the wall he goes. That's a light tap on the wall, but that's 2 positions lost by Fordenburst, trying to fit 2 wide, and McLaren team goes through into the 3rd place. What a battle. What a battle. And it might not even be over with Gunses hot all over McLaren team. 4 minutes to go, plus 1 lap. That battle continues. Now James runs away after creating a little bit of mayhem. But behind him, everything is happening. 71 and 000 chasing each other. Fortenburst was the faster of the three, but now he has to make up time and make up positions. Beautiful battle for everybody involved here. I still have, give or take 3 or 4 laps, looks like. So it's a decent chunk of time for them to settle their differences, figure out a place to overtake, and get it done. But for now, we are on board with the 000 of Gunses. Is currently in 4th place, chasing down McLaren team for the podium spot. And importantly, chasing down McLaren team to help out his teammate Fortenburst, who once again finds himself in 5th place. That's mayhem happens, but the results so far are the same for the top 5. Interestingly enough. So Forten would want some of the points that he lost back. Otherwise the championship might become closer than he would have wanted. But Gunses is all over the tail of the 71. He's picking a late apex and goes a little bit sideways, losing the exit advantage over the Porsche. So it's definitely interesting to see different lines for different drivers and how they pan out. Looks like Gunses is trying riskier moves, and we'll see if they work. But for now, he is still on the tail of the Porsche. Porsche has no support up front. He is clearing the air for everybody behind him. And Porsche was not the best of cars in fast turns and on the straight line speed. So that might be an advantage to the Audis. Even if they make mistakes, the Porsche does not run away on a straight. So they're able to claw some time and claw some pace back and try that again the next lap. Guns is all over the tail of McLaren team. Fortenburst now within a second again because of that tussle. McLaren team is now going full defensive with a couple of laps to go, so they have the pace, but they'll have to find a way around him. Once again, side by side. That's a 000 and 71 side by side. Guns is on the outside. Tries to go, there's a touch, almost exactly the same. Oh, and there's a collision! There's a collision between teammates, and Fortenburst in the wall, hard. He has to wait before rejoining. As Gunses rejoins, he clips his teammate, and that's a crooked car in 7th place. A disaster for the Dutchman. A cardinal sin in motorsport 2 times in 2 races as teammates collide, and Gunses sends. Oh, and there's been an overtake though. There's been a mistake, and that 71 is not healthy at all. I think there's been an issue for McLaren team, and he's damaged as well. Gunses goes through, Trampel goes through. Another blessing in disguise for Fortenburst, it seems. And now Psychedelics would want to hunt down that Porsche to steal some more points from Tim. It looked so perfect for him, but now it's not good again. 180, that's Cap having another issue. But now all eyes on McLaren team. Is he able to hold on? 15 seconds on the clock means 2 laps to go for him. The lights are out on the car, and something happened to him there. We'll have to wait and see how that whole thing happened. But it's definitely another interesting moment, which will have to be adjudicated by our team of stewards at some point or the other, I'm sure. But for now, on the track, it's not over yet. 1 second for Psychedelics to McLaren team. He would want that place, and he would want those points for himself and his teammates. With McLaren team down to 5th, that's 6 points between them. With Fortenburst in 7th and Tim in 3rd, it was almost 20 points between those two, so that's a lot of points lost there after the result, but we'll see what caused that and what happened. Definitely lots of things to look at for the stewards, but for now we proceed, and we're about to hit the last lap. 1.3 between Team and Psychedelics. That car is definitely struggling. Fortenbrust is definitely struggling, but he has 8 seconds behind him. So I don't think he's gonna get challenged a lot. There he is on the background, trying his best to stay on track. But the problem is now for McLaren Team to hold on. 1.4 between him and Psychedelics as they start the final lap in just one corner. That Porsche is all kinds of broken. Meanwhile, Ken Miles being all by himself. He's now going through inner loop for the last time this weekend. Almost a 20-second gap to literally everybody else as his teammate had an issue. All by himself and with half a lap to go till he collects second checkered flag of the weekend. The BMW of LH is in front of him. He goes round the outside, laps that car for the final time. Meanwhile, Psychedelics less than a second behind McLaren Team. Not a lot of good overtaking spots left, but that Porsche is struggling. That Porsche is definitely struggling, going as wide as he can to maximize his exit. Meanwhile, we do have our leader about to cross the line. We do have the battle raging on. The final turn, and Ken Miles collects the win, but we have to switch here. This might be a move. Psychedelics looking, but not quite going yet. He stays behind. He will have maybe one more opportunity. Ken Miles wins the race. Now James is gonna finish in second place unless something happens. But now, all eyes on the battle for 6. It looks like a better exit for McLaren Team. LH is in pits and he loses a couple of spots. He crosses the line in 13th. G4 with Cup 12th. And this battle is gonna end in favor of McLaren Team, who just holds on to 5th place. Trample in 4th. McLaren Team in 5th. Psychedelics just behind in 6th. Fortenbrust manages to recover and finish the race in 7th. Saltseeder is gonna be the car in 8th spot. Spitfire, a little bit of issues early on. He was the car that spun at the start. I'm not sure if it was self-inflicted or not, but they would finish in 9th. And Viperian, the Mercedes with a little bit of rear end scuffing, finishes the race in a 10th place. Well, that was more exciting than we expected, judging by how far the leader went and how soon they went. But with the last car finishing, that has been an exciting event with lots of mistakes from drivers. That win didn't help at all, as that Mercedes with a spectacularly Kiwi livery finishes the race. Alright, as we are done here, let's see if we can hear from the drivers. Who do we have? Who do we have? Well, as I try to alter my settings, there we go. The usual suspect, the car I would want to hear from first, that is McLaren Tim. Are you here, Tim?
Yeah, hey Jordan.
So obviously the first question, we didn't quite catch it. What happened there?
I spun.
So that Porsche ended up biting you there.
I mean, it's not like it was doing anything different. I just stopped paying attention for the one time it mattered, so...
So definitely a couple of close calls for you and 2 Audis in the inner loop. You seem to have picked the inside line with the hard defense. Is that something you practiced? Is that something you just had to do with seemingly Audis having overspeed coming out of the first couple of turns?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know, Photon did it to me anyway, so it seemed pretty standard going in there.
And looks like, despite issues for both you and Photon, you managed to recover a few points in the championship. The gap has shrunk, and we have 3 more races to go. With the last race being well, more or less a wild card at the Nordschleife. The next race, next event, is gonna be at Tor Poznan. How do you fancy your chances there against your rival?
I mean, I know nothing about it, but yeah. I mean, I feel like Porsche doesn't have terrible deficiencies. This might be the weakest track of the bunch for it because of the long sweepers. But yeah, I don't know. The problem is not with the car at the moment. I'll leave it at that.
Alright, I won't pry any further. After that, good weekend for you. And, well, the championship has gotten more exciting. Good luck in future events.
Yeah, and thanks again for the show.
Thank you, thank you. Let's see. We have ourselves some fresh faces in the audio chat, so let's see if you can hear us. Can you hear?
Hello, I can hear.
Hello, welcome to the broadcasting booth, and what a way to make the first impression.
Yeah, that was good. James invited me here, and I was like, oh, you know, I'll race here, and I completely forgot about this race this morning, and I was like, oh, hey, is there a race this morning? Oh, yeah. But man, these cars, they're incredible to drive around here. I had a lot of fun with this Ferrari. I have some pretty horrible memories from a 2.4 hours of Le Mans that I did last year, where these cars were super underpowered, but they seemed really good today, and I think we dialed in the setup pretty good, but I had a lot of fun.
Now, speaking of setup, looking at your onboards in both qualifying and the race, that seemed the car was completely on rails, which is extremely uncharacteristic of a Ferrari. Did you spend much time trying to fine-tune the setup, trying to find those rails?
You know, really, not that much. James had sent me a setup, and we ran for about an hour on Friday, and then I ran about an hour today. And really, I don't know what he did to the setup, but it definitely was magic. Something was definitely right there, and the car was on rails, especially through some of the downhill bits where you'd expect the front to get understeer, especially with this mid-engine car. But man, it held up really well today, and it was good. I'm excited, and hopefully I can make Nordschleife next week. Next race. That will be an intense one, definitely.
And Nordschleife is a little bit further back. We still have 2 rounds. The next one will be Tor Poznan. So you guys have a chance in actually making some noise in the Teams Championship with you essentially sweeping this round, trying to catch back. 3 more races to go. Do you guys aim high for the Teams title?
I think so. Like I said, I kind of just jumped in here because I had watched James race in Sachsenring, and I said, oh, that looks like kind of fun, and he invited me in here, and I think I'm going to try to make as many of the races I can, but sometimes, Sundays are a little bit busy for me in the mornings, but I think that if I can make it, I will be here.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Congratulations on your first wins in Phoenix World Championship, and good luck to you in the future races.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the commentation.
Thank you. Let's see. Who else can we grab? Well, as we continue with the usual suspects, the second part of the championship battle, Photon. Hello.
Hi.
So, the battle at the end and the seemingly cardinal sin. We saw it from the trackside. What was it like from your cockpit? What did you see there?
I mean, it all kind of started like 3 laps back when James had some kind of mistake and dropped like right behind me. And I was so shocked by that the lap after I made like a small concentration mistake. And so that let James by. And then James made a mistake, which held me up and like pushed me right back into Tim and Guntz's, who I'd been trying to kind of like manage a gap with. Because I knew that if they would get close, I would really start to struggle. And yeah, it was just Guntz's alongside with Tim. They touch, and well, it was a thing where Guntz's seemed to kind of try to let Tim by, but yeah, Tim has been running those curbs quite wide all race. Like I had some issues with that as well, where we made some contact here and there. I'm not putting blame on Tim, but that's just kind of what I saw. And yeah, Guntz's tries to rejoin, tries to not do the mistake that I did going over the grass and hitting a massive bump. and rejoins like right on the racing line, right as I pass by. And yeah, I don't think there was much we could do about that. But yeah, it was pretty. Let's say the voice chat was quite animated.
I can imagine. Just a few corners later, a stroke of luck for you as Teams Porsche decided it no longer wanted to face the correct way, so you didn't lose as many points in the championship with 5-7 finish for you two. But still, the gap shrunk and there are 3 more races to go. How do you feel about your chances in the remaining races and about that gap in the title chase?
Well, first of all, especially the second race was just a massive stroke of 3 or 4 times of massive bad luck. And that first race, I lost a couple positions based on tactics. So I'll just kind of have to improve on both fronts. I think race pace was decent. It's just following other cars that I need to kind of practice more with, because I feel like I'm not really anticipating everything as well as I should. And yeah, other than that, like the major question mark is the tracks. Especially this time around, the Ferraris were just so amazingly strong. And in the other 2 rounds, like I think the Audis had a slight upper hand, but it wasn't that clear. So yeah, I guess we shall see what the other rounds bring. But I think that's a bit early to say. Yeah, we'll just see how it plays out.
Well, as a little bit of advice, you don't need to follow other cars if you're in the lead, so might want to employ that tactic. Well, good luck to you, and thanks for the races.
Thank you.
Now let's, as we still have some time, let's go for the person who doesn't appear in the booth that much, so welcome a new face, South Cedar. Hello, hello.
Good evening.
So, a race of lots of emotions, I imagine, for you. 2 races went completely differently. But obviously want to ask, as we didn't quite catch it, what happened in race 1 with you and Trampel?
Just the classic under pressure situation. He lost the control and got shuffled back to me. And I thought he was somewhere close behind me, and I didn't want to block him, so I don't know, I just overshoot the corner a little bit. And I think he thought the same thing. He also overshot the corner and we both spun. And yeah, that was it basically. Picked up some damage then. And yeah, that was the race for me. Long pit stop and it was over.
And definitely unfortunate, but even in qualifying it seems that the Porsches were quite a bit slower than Audis and Ferraris at Watkins Glen. Did it feel that way from the cars?
Yeah, for me the Porsche is always, it likes to be V-shaped at the corner. And at Watkins Glen it's more like a fast flowing track, and the Porsche, it's not really its strong place there. But it was nice to drive around there, definitely. Just not as fast as the rest.
Alright, as the team it seems like you guys are struggling a little bit to pick up the points with 2 rounds to go. Do you guys still have hope for the team's championship with the 4 drivers challenging the 3 in the other team?
Well, I actually don't know the standings by now, but we have 4 drivers, so we should at least pick up points in every race. But yeah, I don't know how it looks right now. I guess with all the struggles we have, it looks a bit bad for us right now.
Well, we'll figure it out eventually, but yeah, good luck to you in the remaining 2 rounds. Hopefully we see some close competition, and thank you for the race.
Yeah, I hope so. Thanks.
Alright, I think we have time for one more. Who do we not usually pick up? I guess we're gonna go for the person who will have to have a little bit of team debrief between the 2 drivers who might have cost themselves a place or 2. Psychedelics, hello, hello.
Hello. Well, yeah.
So the X number 14. So you're gonna have the alt graphic on the screen because what are you doing changing that number mid-season? But
Sorry.
for you personally, a stellar qualifying in race 1, but what happened there on the formation lap?
I was a bit too happily weaving around and apparently clipped the grass going into the toe, I think the turn's called. Yeah.
That's
Crash,
unfortunate, but a good recovery for you still, finishing behind your 2 teammates. But today I kind of want to hear more from you as the team owner than the team driver, considering what happened in race 2, the collision between Fortenburst and Gunses, as one tried to rejoin the track after cutting the inner loop and colliding and costing a few positions. So, would there be any follow-up, any team debrief considering that?
I haven't seen it yet, but from the voice chat, yeah, we might talk about it. Probably Photon and Gunses are talking about it right now. I don't think there will be any consequences or much of a debrief, because it happens, and it sounded like it was a small mistake that led to everything.
The touches were definitely subtle, but the results quite severe. But for your team, it looks like you guys are were a stronger car. Let's just say the Audi a stronger car than a Porsche this weekend, and you guys ended up losing a few points due to mistakes here and there. But for the next race at Tor, I couldn't quite crack the Porsche guys regarding who seems to be faster. What would be your opinion for the next event between the cars?
It's a tricky one. I don't think I have seen any GT3 driving on tour with our cars yet. I believe the Audi has a little bit of a acceleration and top speed advantage over the Porsche, which might come in handy at tour. But the BOP might have a word with that, and yeah. We also, little bit of a sneak peek, we might get some new soft tires for that round too, for everyone. So things might change, I don't know yet.
Interesting. Well, as we were talking about Audi versus Porsche, I can't skip that question. What about that Ferrari at Watkins, Glen? That was a rocket ship.
It sure was.
Were there any changes to the car since last time, and what would you point to as the cause of that sudden speed surge?
The only change which every car got was the reduction in weight for this round. I suppose James and Ken figured the car out, because the last major changes we did was with the beginning of the series, with some tweaks to the suspension. And since then, we only had James for round 2, so not much data to go off before that. And it seems like the changes made the car actually drivable and competitive, which wasn't really the case last season, as we know.
So with Ferraris essentially sweeping this round completely with both cars, that would be some implications for the team's championship. Do you still feel confident with the gap that you have so far, considering 2 rounds to go?
I don't have the team standings in my head right now. Do we have them anywhere? I don't think so. Overall, I think I'm pretty confident that we can at least fight it until the end. We'll see if James and Ken can close the gap to the front, however big it might be. And I hope that we all can make the final races and then have a good fight to the end.
Alright, congratulations to you and the team. Good fight back, decent weekend, and hope to see you at the next race.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.
I'll drop it in with the rest so he can try to talk to him. Just, friendly communication in Phoenix World Championship. But as for me, that would be it for today. Thank you all so very much for watching this exciting race weekend. And we're gonna be back in 2 weeks at February 20th is going to be round 4 at Tor Poznan. Between those two, I believe it's going to be the... actually, looking at the... Have a look at the events. Yes, between them there's going to be the final event of a sort of Corsa Competizione series next Sunday. Don't miss that. And, well, until the next race, thank you all so very much for watching. And this is goodbye.